তুমি।
She came back to her hometown and found herself already living there. Same face, same memories, same voice, but only one of them is allowed to stay alive. I wasn't supposed to come back to Blackridge. People leave towns like this for a reason, not because they're boring, but because they aren't. Blackridge had a way of holding on to things, secrets, faces, even memories that didn't belong to you. But when my mother died, I didn't have a choice. The first thing I noticed when I arrived wasn't the silence, it was the familiarity. The diner still smelled like burnt coffee. The motel sign still flickered on and off like it was breathing its last. Even the people looked the same. Too much the same. I checked into my childhood home just before sunset. The place hadn't been touched in years, yet everything was clean, dust-free, organized, like someone had been living there. But that was impossible. I buried my mother that morning. That night, I woke up to footsteps, soft, careful, inside my house. I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a rusted fireplace poker, and crept down the hallway. My heart was pounding so loud, I was sure whoever it was could hear it. "Hello?" I called. The footsteps stopped. Then, slowly, a voice answered from the living room. "Lena?" My blood ran cold. That was my name. I stepped forward, gripping the poker tighter. "Who's there?" When I entered the room, it was empty, but the TV was on. Static flickered across the screen, white noise humming like a swarm of insects. And then, just for a second, the static shifted into something else. A face. My face. I stumbled back. No, that's not possible. The screen snapped back to static. The next morning, I went into town. I needed answers, and in Blackridge, answers meant people, or at least whatever passed for people here. I stopped by the diner first. Maggie was still working there. Same gray hair, same tired eyes. "Lena Carter," she said before I even opened my mouth. "Didn't think you'd ever come back." "I didn't think so either," I replied, sliding into a booth. "Listen, has anyone been in my house?" Maggie didn't answer right away. She just poured coffee into a chipped mug and placed it in front of me. "You should leave," she said quietly. I frowned. "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you need." "Someone was inside my house last night. They knew my name." Maggie's hand trembled slightly. "Things here remember people, even after they're gone." I stared at her. What does that even mean? But she had already turned away. I didn't believe in ghost stories. Not really. But something was wrong with this town. I could feel it, like a low hum under my skin. So I did what I always do when things don't make sense. I started digging. The sheriff's office hadn't changed either. Same peeling paint, same lazy ceiling fan. Sheriff Doyle was new though. Too new. "You're asking about break-ins?" he said, leaning back in his chair. "We don't get much of that here." "I heard someone in my house," I insisted. "Probably just settling noises. Old buildings do that." "Buildings don't say your name." That made him pause. For a second, his smile slipped. Then it came back. "You've been gone a long time, Lena. Maybe you're just adjusting." I leaned forward. "My mother, how did she die?" His expression tightened. "Natural causes." That's not what the death certificate said. I didn't actually know that, but the lie worked. Doyle hesitated. "People die differently in Blackridge. Sometimes the town takes them." I let out a dry laugh. "That's not an answer either." "No," he said softly, "but it's the truth." That night, I set a trap. If someone or something was coming into my house, I was going to catch it. I scattered flour across the hallway floor and locked every door and window. Then I sat in the dark, waiting. Midnight came, then 1, then 2. I was starting to think I'd imagined everything when I heard it again. Footsteps, slow, careful, coming from the hallway. My pulse spiked when I turned on my flashlight and stepped out of the room. The flour had been disturbed. Footprints, barefoot, leading toward the living room. I followed them, every nerve in my body screaming. And then I saw her, standing in the center of the room. She looked exactly like me. Same height, same face, same scar above the eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at 8 years old. She even wore my old clothes. "What the hell?" I whispered. She tilted her head, studying me like I was the stranger. "You came back," she said. Her voice was mine. "This isn't funny," I snapped. "Who are you?" She smiled. "I'm you." I tightened the grip on the poker. "No, you're not." "I stayed," she said simply. The room felt colder. "What do you mean?" "You left Blackridge, but Blackridge didn't let you go." I shook my head. "That doesn't make sense." "It doesn't have to." She stepped closer. I took one back. Every person who leaves something behind. A memory, a version of themselves. The town keeps it. My stomach dropped. "That's impossible." "Is it?" she asked. "Then why do I remember everything you do?" She stepped closer again. "I remember the night you ran away. I remember how you didn't look back." I couldn't breathe. "You're not real," I whispered. "I'm as real as you are." I didn't sleep that night. How could I? By morning she was gone, but the footprints were still there. I went back to Maggie. "You knew," I said, slamming my hands on the counter. "You knew about this." She didn't deny it. "They don't usually show themselves," she said. "They?" I repeated. "The ones who stayed." My chest tightened. "How many are there?" She met my eyes. "As many as have ever left." That's when I understood. Blackridge didn't just remember people, they kept them. I ran back to my house. I needed to leave, now. I packed my bags, grabbed my keys, and didn't look back as I got into my car. The engine started. Relief flooded through me. I pressed the gas, but the car didn't move. I frowned and pressed harder. Nothing. Then I saw her, standing in the middle of the road, waiting. I got out of the car, heart pounding. "You can't leave," she said calmly. "Watch me," I snapped. She shook her head. "You left once. That's why I exist." I clenched my fists. "This town doesn't get to decide that." "No," she said softly, "but I do." Before I could react, she lunged. We hit the ground hard. The air knocked out of my lungs. She was stronger than me, faster, like she knew exactly what I was going to do before I did it. Because she did. She was me. I struggled, trying to push her off. "Stop!" I gasped. "You don't belong here anymore," she said, her hands tightening around my throat. "I do." My vision blurred. "No," I choked. "Yes." Her grip tightened. "Blackridge only needs one of us." When I woke up, I was alone, lying in the road. The town was quiet again, normal, like nothing had happened. I stumbled to my feet, my head spinning. Was it over? Had I? "Morning, Lena." I froze. Maggie stood across the street, smiling. Too wide, too wrong. I looked down at my hands. They weren't shaking anymore. They felt steady, familiar, but not mine. A memory surfaced, not mine, hers, standing in that house, waiting, watching, years passing, alone. Until now, I looked back at Maggie. "What happened?" I asked. My voice was calm, colder than before. Maggie's smile didn't fade. "She took your place," she said. My stomach dropped. "No," I whispered. Maggie nodded. "You're the one who stayed now." I turned slowly toward the road, toward the edge of town, where my car used to be. But it was gone. Of course it was, because I hadn't just failed to leave.